the gun thing. Yeah, I believe that's the reason. I don't think it's the routine actions. No. They're trying to change. They're not like city council. I actually remember we put it on vibrate. I hardly ever do. So back when you're in a meeting and it goes off. You got to turn off the sound. No, this is 1998.
They just brought it back.
No, my son gave it to me. It's a Jurassic Park flip phone. That's what my grandson told me. Jurassic
Yeah.
Park. Great Flintstone,
You know, they just came out.
But guess what? Run over by a truck and drive this to the lake, fishing, got it, brought it to us, beat down, felt my toe, got it out of the work. It buzzed for about 15 minutes.
Yeah, they don't do that.
Broken because of the way
You can't hack it. I left it on the station. Piccadilly in Los Angeles. I got home and I knew I left it somewhere. And I called this my home ground line on the way to Piccadilly in Los Angeles. I said, "You got my phone." Ain't nobody gonna take it.
I believe you.
It's been sitting on the table for an hour and a half.
That's pretty damn amazing. That's a hell of a damn
That proof, waterproof, waterproof, makes calls, it sells pictures, it's got GPS.
I mean, like,
I looked at a new one in Best Buy.
the service is done.
$9.95, $75.
One of those people that responded,
I said,
economic
"Well,
development.
you want the 330?
Those are the things that
If you buy it, that's $25. But I should have realized they didn't have a price.
Yeah, they can't just
Go lower, you know, if he was the clerk, he might have got
That's a
it.
Burma vibe.
Trying to be permanently, you know, and I think things can be done
They had it.
differently.
They missed
Not only for
Hi guys, welcome to Caddo Parish Commission. We're going to call this the regular meeting agenda for February the 20th, 2020. The time is 3:34 p.m. Deputy Clerk.
Hopkins,
Here.
Johnson, Jackson, Young,
Here.
Burrell, Cawthorn, Gage
Present.
Watts, Taliaferro,
Here, ma'am.
Atkins,
Here.
Chavez, Lazarus,
Here.
Epperson. We
Here.
have a quorum.
Thank you. Everybody please stand and silence your cell phones. We're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Atkins and the prayer by Commissioner Ed Lazarus.
Give me just a second here, folks. Let us pray. Most gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and the many blessings you bestow upon us. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity given to us to work together for the betterment of our communities and constituents here in Caddo Parish. May we work together in gladness, mindful of the strength that working together brings. May each feel the responsibility of our work, and may the fact that we serve each other and the constituents of Caddo Parish make us better servants for every good cause that we sponsor. We ask thy watch and care as we press forward through this year and the years to come. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in facing the flag and stating the Pledge of Allegiance. Please place your hand over your heart, or active duty or recently retired military or first responders may choose a brow salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Deputy Clerk, do I have any agenda additions?
I have none.
All right, I have none either. Move on to citizens' comments. Citizens who wish to address the commission on any issue other than zoning, please fill out a comment card located in the chamber foyer and return to the president or clerk of commission. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes. We have a limitation where on one specific topic that we're granted 15 minutes for a whole on that specific topic. Commissioners, I have 19 cards in regards to the weapons and the guns. I would ask that, as opposed to giving 15 minutes for that side, because I have a feeling a lot of people would like to speak, if you guys would grant 1 minute for each individual so that they can all say their piece.
Second.
All right? I have a motion on the floor to grant 1 minute for each person of the guns as opposed to 15 minutes for a selected few. Please vote. That passes 10,
9-1.
9-1. Thank you, Commissioners.
Going out of the chamber.
Kristen McCain. Yes. Call it out loud.
Ask the clerk to set that.
Okay. Set that for 1 minute, please. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it. My name's Christian McCain. I'm part of District 9. We got a lot of people out that way, and it's rural. We want to let y'all know this is not a good idea to even bring it up. The Second Amendment says, shall not be infringed. I take it as an insult as a veteran. Yes, I take my orders from those above me, but my oath was to the Constitution of the United States. There is no deadline on that, and it does not expire. Shall not be infringed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And audience, just so that we could speed this along, we'll try to keep a decorum in here. I agree with your sentiments of applause, but just out of respect for the speaker so that their time is not cut down, we can wait till the end for any applauses.
And you might let them know who's next.
Tim Nidley, and on bat will be Dan Newbert.
Good afternoon, I'm Tim Knighty. I used to work out at the refinery with Mr. Johnson and Mr. Epperson. Good to see you both. In regards to gun control laws, there's always two questions. Number one, will the law be effective? And number two, is the law constitutional? I think this fails on both counts. Gun control laws that are aimed at law-abiding citizens rather than criminals and those that would do harm are not effective. They do not work. You can go to any country south of our border and find any nation that has much stricter gun control laws, that has no right to keep and bear arms, and you'll find that the crime rates and the homicide rates are higher in those countries than they are in our country. Again, laws that target law-abiding citizens rather than criminals and miscreants are not effective. The second issue is the constitutional one. The Constitution clearly states that it is the supreme law of the land, and it also clearly states that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It does not say shall not be unreasonably regulated, does not say shall not be abridged, does not say shall not be abrogated. It says shall not be infringed. You cannot lawfully even touch it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Newbert, and on deck is Henry Bishop.
Thank y'all. My name is Dan Newbert, and like everyone here, I agree with everything they say, and I would just like to say I wish every time something happens that people would quit going to the guns and maybe look at making the laws and the punishment for criminals stricter so the criminals won't do things. I personally don't commit crimes because I don't want to even step into a jail. But stepping into jail is too nice nowadays. They're in there watching TVs and playing games. They ought to make it stricter. You ought to look at make it stricter for what they're doing to them guys in jail so they don't want to be there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Bishop, and on deck will be Mr. Madre.
Hello, my name is Henry Bishop. I live in South Shreveport, 9821 High Point Drive, and I don't support this at all. I don't think we should impede on our Second Amendment rights. And instead, I think maybe this body should offer a resolution to the Louisiana legislature to send a resolution to end gun-free zones. That would be a much better idea. And so please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Madre, and on deck is Jerry Baxter. Mr. Baxter? No? Okay. Christopher J. McCarty. And on deck will be Jane Edmonds.
Hi, I'm Chris McCarty. I'm a veteran. My family lives. We live in close to South Shreveport Highlands area. When the Bill of Rights was being voted on by the Senate, they put into effect a vote to kind of preface the statement in the Constitution to say for home defense, for defense of self. And they voted no because it was too limiting. And I really feel like, it was left open. This clause, this amendment to the Constitution is left open to defend the people. And every one of the framers, they have quotes that state that they defended the people. And so I think any type of infringement on the laws is going to hurt the people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Jane Edmonds, and on deck will be Joel Baxter. Do we have Edmonds in the room? No? Joel Baxter? Randall Anderson? And on deck is Jane Tappy.
How you doing? I appreciate this opportunity to speak. I have something for each of y'all. I don't know if somebody wants to bring it to
Sure,
you.
hand them to Deputy Clerk Nations.
And I'd just like quickly to say that I'm actually a male domestic abuse survivor, and I hope my words have some type of weight. Basically, I just want to look at basically A on here and D on my discussion points, and just basically if we observe Chicago, Illinois, we know that gun control does not work. And if we look at the weight of magazine capacity, because I've seen on the proposal about limited magazines, we'll notice that the magazine capacity actually it has no effect on the effective rate of fire. So it's not like the magazine is going to cause more damage to an individual or cause. It's not going to be more do anything that it causes more problems than what's already done by a criminal that causes mass shootings.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Tappy, and next is Cody Duos.
Hey guys, Jane Tappy here. I'm going to speak for all of you guys that don't, kind of maybe scared of you guys up here and they don't want to speak. I'm going to speak for anybody who wants me to speak for them. This is a bad no. This is a bad, bad no. We all know it. And that this is only the first step. If we give in to this resolution, the next will be a little bit more, and it'll be a little bit more, and it'll be a little bit more, and the next thing we will be like Chicago or any of the other bigger places that that have the most gun control. California, any of those places like that. Most gun control, the most crime, the most deaths, because we as a people cannot defend ourselves because you might take away that right. So that's just a big, big no. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cody Doors. Next on deck will be Jamar Doc Montgomery.
Hi, I'm Cody Duas. I spoke to the man that actually proposed this, and I was surprised that he did not know that there's actually a 30-round drum for a semi-automatic shotgun. So if you ban this, what's going to stop them from going to the semi-automatic shotguns? All these people behind me, they have the right, just like y'all. We all have the same rights. But I think you as the people have forgotten that y'all work for us. Y'all forgot y'all's oath that y'all took to make sure that we were taken care of. That our rights and your rights at the same time were granted to us. The police have forgotten they work for us. The government forgotten they work for us. Y'all forgotten the roads and the sidewalks to the people. We pay for them. Y'all are supposed to use our money for good things, not to ban 30-round clips, 75-round clips, 100-round clips. But what a law-abiding citizen buys a 100-round clip. We don't, because we have confidence in our ability to shoot in the first 2 to 3 times.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Montgomery, it didn't state on this card if you were for it or against it. If you were for it, you actually can have 3 minutes. So I didn't know. I didn't want to assume. Are you for it?
Oh,
Maybe anybody, just say anybody for it.
I'll take my minute just like everybody else.
Okay.
I'll take my minute just like everybody else. The ordinance the resolution was put to prevent mass shootings. If we really want to prevent mass shootings, then we need to deal with the discriminatory nature in which these kind of laws are enforced. When kids from Stoner Hill, from the Cooper Road are found with firearms, we deal with them as an individual, and we treat them as if they're dangerous and as they're criminals. However, when we look at mass shootings, these are kids who come from a different socioeconomic background and different sociocultural background, and then now we start dealing with the actual firearms instead of the individual. So if you want to prevent mass shootings, then we need to start dealing with the discriminatory nature in which these gun laws are enforced. So with that being said, I'd like to close out my time and thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Robert Bilderbeck, and on deck will be Donald Gatt.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So the purpose of this proposed resolution was to, in his own words, to take certain guns off of our streets. But the problem is one, it doesn't even accomplish that goal. You can get any assault rifle with a 20-round clip, which is still legal. So it doesn't even accomplish that goal. Also, are we willing to make felons out of people who don't abide by this? You know, most gun laws, when you violate them, they're going to be felonies. Are you willing to tear apart families who have done nothing more than own a piece of metal that holds ammunition? Benjamin Franklin was known for saying those who give up essential liberty for a false sense of security deserve neither. And it's been found that you will get neither. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gant. And on deck is Patricia Smith.
Good afternoon, Mr. President.
Good afternoon, sir.
And afternoon, commissioners and officers of the commission on the dais. My name is Donald Jerome Galt. I reside in District 12, 3412 Judy Lane. I am a retired police officer and 11-year veteran of the United States Army.
Hoorah!
On July 20, 2019, 214 days ago, my son, Coach Roderick Jerome Galt, was murdered on East Washington Street. Today, I am here to advocate for the Second Amendment rights of gun ownership and the rights of law-abiding citizens to buy, sell, and trade. Moreover, I am here to support members of this commission who are asking the Louisiana legislature to incorporate mandatory requirements for owning or carrying firearms and to include establishing reasonable accountability and traceability for current and new firearm owners. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Patricia Smith. On deck is John A. Harrell.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Resolution 13 is nothing more than an attempt to control the citizens of Caddo Parish, and each and every one of you swore to uphold the Constitution. I'm going to have to cut this one down a little bit, but as with any tool, a gun is a tool. You can't make it do anything unless the person behind it does it. You can't force a situation on that inanimate object. As with any tool, without regards, can be any dangerous as any other tool. A hammer can bash someone in the head. It's no more than a hammer, but it's still a deadly weapon. Caddo Parish had 42 gun-related deaths in 2019, 14% less than 2018 without legislation. We had more than 50 automobile deaths. We're not banning cars and trucks because they didn't have anything to do with the actual death. Just like that gun had nothing to do with the actual death.
Time, Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Parliamentary.
I'd like to propose a resolution.
Thank you. Mr. Harrell, and on deck is Casey Hall.
John Harrell, Shreveport. Today, Washington State, much more liberal than Louisiana, shot down their attempt at restricting firearm magazine capacity and the sale of assault weapons. Now, there's no such thing as an assault weapon. It's the same as a squirrel gun. It shoots one time for each time you pull the trigger. And I don't know why people can't understand this. We already have laws to take care of this. It's called murder. If you shoot, you get killed. That's all I got to say about that.
Thank you, sir.
Y'all are trying harder than any commission I've ever seen to get voted out of office.
Mr. Hall.
I can't get voted out.
After Mr. Hall, we have Brian White.
Hello, my name's Casey Hall, District 1. So often we hear our local, state, and federal governments think that stricter gun control measures will help reduce or even eliminate mass shootings and gun violence. Folks, this isn't true, because the guns are not the problem. You see, I'm president of North Caddo Shooting Club, Morrisport, Louisiana. We focus on shooting sports and firearm education for youth ages 9 to 19. This past weekend, we had over 300 kids compete at our range, firing over 10,000 rounds of ammunition with no incidents, no injuries. So I can assure you, if guns were the problem, we'd have seen an issue at our range this weekend. I estimate that our program has reached over 1,000 children in Caddo Parish, and we teach the kids not only respect for their firearms, but respect for themselves, their parents, and their community. The problem is not guns, it's firearm education and character. When I found out about this resolution, I put a post on Facebook so my friends can comment whether they were for or against it, because many people can't get off work at 3:30 on a Thursday. Little did I know that my post would be shared 1,500 times and have over 1,200 comments representing nearly 2,000 people. I did my best to read each comment. You have 3 individuals who are in favor of this resolution and over 2,000 that are against it.
Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Parliamentarian.
So if you vote yes on this resolution, you'll unquestionably show that you are voting for and representing your own agenda rather than the majority of the people whom you're supposed to represent.
Mr. White. Mr. Brian White.
There's not a whole lot I can say that hadn't been already said, so I'll go from a different perspective. First off, please, I wish to echo, please move these meetings outside business hours. We are losing a lot of leave in being here for the things that need to be brought before the commission. Is anybody here happy with freedom, limitation by bureaucracy? No. All right, so first question is relevance. We're responsible adults and capable without the further limiting our freedoms. Hold the person accountable instead of the entity, instead of the weapon. Limiting the capacity. Where did 20 rounds come from is my first question. Why not 5, 7? Magazine capacity, from personal experience, doesn't contribute any more to the cause of death than the size of the fork or the spoon does to obesity. Training like you fight, again, personal perspective here, personal experience, if you train, you must train like you fight. You specify active duty and National Guard. You can't say just those. There's reserves, there's off-duty law enforcement that need the time to practice with their service weapon or they're not effective. Please keep that in mind. 3-gun shooters are also in that category and they do it legitimately, as was already mentioned earlier before. I know my minute's up.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jake Brown, and this is 1 minute on guns. Mr. Brown.
Yes, sir. Thomas Jefferson understood the importance of the right to bear arms and the consequences of disarming law-abiding citizens. He stated that laws that forbid the carrying of arms are laws of such a nature. They disarm only those who are neither inclined nor determined to commit crimes. Such laws make things worse for the assaulted and better for the assailants. They serve rather to encourage than to prevent homicides. For an unarmed man may be attacked with greater confidence than an armed man. According to Crime Prevention Research Center, between 1950 and 2018, 97.8% of all mass public shootings occurred in gun-free zones. This staggering number is why such designated areas are often referred to as soft targets, meaning unprotected and vulnerable. Similarly, in the 20 states that allow teachers to be armed, there have been no school shootings, as well as no accidents or injuries caused by firearms possessed by teachers. Gun control advocacy groups will argue these numbers.
Thank you, parliamentarian. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jake. Mr. Kraft. Mr. Kraft, are you wishing to speak on the gun topic? You have several, okay. And last, Mrs. Bonnie Farr, you didn't place, do you want to speak on the gun topic? Bonnie Farr.
It's actually more than gun rights I'd like to talk about.
You can have your 1 minute on the gun rights if you'd like to come up. You'll wrap this up.
It would take more than 3 minutes, so I'll get it later.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we're going to move along. I show Sheriff Steve Prater. Are you in the audience?
Keep it to the next one.
I see okay.
Good afternoon. I appreciate it, and I'll try to be as brief as I possibly can. I happened to notice on the agenda that we were discussing violent crime and guns. I didn't know anything about this. I wish somebody had asked me. I might have could have added my 2 cents. But anyway, I'd like to address number one, the study that was quoted in the at least the newspaper and the news media. There was a study that just came out by John Hopkins 2 days ago. It was funded by presidential candidate Bloomberg, and it was, much to his chagrin, according to the article and according to the study, it showed that there's no evidence banning assault weapons would reduce mass shootings. And that was from 2 days ago. I've got the study if you care to see it. There's no evidence that that would happen. Also, if you're interested, mass shootings in 2017, there were 117 people died. That same year, there were 17,000 died of homicides. If we want to do something about violent crime, let's do something about violence and the illegal carrying of weapons by people that are not supposed to have them. 17,000. 17,000 versus 117, and we're dealing with sending a resolution to Baton Rouge that is not going to be honored anyway. So let's spend our time doing something. If you'd like to talk to me about some of the things that we can do about violent crime, I'll be glad to. One of the things we can do, justice reinvestment, reduce the penalty for a felon in possession of a firearm, which the federal government brags is 10 years federally. Louisiana in 2017 reduced it from 10 years to 5 years, and then said you only have to spend 35% of the time of the 5 years. And so that's the exact opposite of what all the studies say. If you want to reduce violent crime, you take the guns out of felons' hands. And that's where you start. Another thing Justice Reinvestment did, it took the illegal use of a firearm off of the violent crime list. That didn't make any sense. Took it off of the violent crime list, the illegal use of a firearm. So if you drive by a shooting and you shoot in a house and you don't hit anybody, that's illegal use of a firearm. That's not a violent crime. That's 2017. It took home invasion with a firearm. You used to have to spend 5 years mandatory. So if somebody breaks in on you and your family in the middle of the night, tie you up, and they got a gun on you, used to be a 5-year mandatory felony. They reduced that to 1 year. Okay, I've got stacks of different laws that Justice Reinvestment reduced the penalty on the illegal use and possession of firearms. And that's the 17,000 a year we deal with instead of the 117. And so that's where we need to spend our time. And I want to offer my time to work with you all if you would like to consult me. And I can tell you about 47 years of work in violent crime. And I think I got a little bit of expertise in that, just like many of you have in your jobs. And so I'm willing, if you would like to call me sometime or invite me to come to a meeting or something, I'd be willing to talk to you about some ways that we can really address violent crime rather than getting a bunch of people to come up here. We know what they're going to say. Some of them going to make sense and some of them not. All right? But they all got a heart. They all got a heart and they're passionate about what they believe in. And I'm not as passionate about gun possession and all as some of them might be. But I am passionate about protecting myself and my family. Okay? And so, anyway, in conclusion, I've got the study, I've got the time, I've got the passion to do something about violent crime if you all have the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you. All right, guys, we got one left. Constable Hatfield.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one comment. Chief Prater mentioned about the study. I'd like to have a copy of that.
Okay. Sure.
I said chief because he used to be chief when I was on the council, so I'm sorry, Sheriff Prater. He understands it.
Afternoon, Constable.
Good afternoon. I'm Constable Hatfield, and I really can't say it any better than Sheriff Prater did. I pretty much agree with every single thing that Sheriff Prater said, so I'll make mine very short. So luckily, we've had no mass shootings in Caddo Parish. We've had many more deaths from unprotected sex, heroin, meth, crack. All these things are causing a lot more deaths than gun violence is. The individuals that are shooting up schools are not law-abiding citizens. These overzealous laws are punishing law-abiding citizens and serve absolutely no purpose. Our efforts are better spent on educating our law-abiding citizens and allowing law-abiding citizens to arm themselves so that we may protect ourselves and families if needed. I have two young boys, two 6-year-old and a 3-year-old who are already learning to shoot, just like I did when I was a child. So you educate your children so that they can protect themselves as we've been able to for so many years. Last but not least, as your constable, I will not take away any guns from any law-abiding citizens who have not committed a crime using that gun, and that's a promise. Thank you so much.
Ms. John Glover. And this is not about guns, so you're allocated your 3 minutes.
No, it's not. John Glover, soon to be 9100 Walker Road. apartment 121, Shreveport, 71118. I stand before you with regards to a ordinance, or is it just a resolution? I'm not sure what it's called.
It's an agenda
Item
item.
20.1, an agenda item. There is an asking that a process be reopened with regards to the hiring of a commission clerk. I oppose that. I oppose it because there was sufficient time and there were sufficient methods that were taken to address the process itself. After it was concluded, a candidate was chosen. Whether you accepted it or not, it was voted on. So I don't understand fully why the need to reopen this process. Now, it has been said, and I don't know that it's true, that in the interim of the onset, the process excluded an individual. Well, I believe those who implemented that exclusion knew what they were doing. And now to holler foul at the 9th hour is not the way to do it. We have affected other persons in this process. You chose a candidate, you chose him, give him the job. You talk about the conflict of interest or ethic violation. A clerk does not do anything of substance that affects any funding. So therefore, that would not be a credible account. Again, the decision was made, and it was made when some of you all were not on the commission. It was under the other commission. But whether it was now or then, the decision was made, and it should be upheld. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Glover.
Thank you.
John Settle.
John Settle, 4 Tealwood. I want to commend Commissioner Jackson and former Mayor, now Representative Glover, for working on the attempt to get a law school here. But my concern is item 20.2, this is on your agenda, to confirm submitting formal request on behalf of the parish to the Board of Regents Shreveport Law School Study. To my knowledge, this has never been publicly provided to us. I don't know what you're voting on, and I think that it's a violation of the open meetings law if you don't have this attached to the agenda, whatever you're going to vote to confirm. I'm not against the law school, but I think it's only appropriate. We know whether we're going to put it downtown or out on Southern Trace or out on the lake where Mr. Burrell lives or somewhere, but I think that we should have that available to the public for comment before you vote it. So I'd request that this be delayed 2 weeks. All I know is what I've been catching on the media and have been able to deduce from that and scurrying around, going to sources. I do have something that was attached before about parish feedback that has a draft and has recommendations, but I have not seen any document that shows what you really want to submit. So I would request that. I think that's only appropriate for the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Settle. Ken Kraft.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I want to welcome the new members, my new member, Mr. Young, Mr. Lazarus, Mr. Telfair, a lot of new members. Still going to call them the Dirty Dozen. I still can't decide who's going to be Lee Marvin. Anyway, got a few things here. Young boy, 14 years old, last November, went hunting. Caddo Parish, had a 50-yard shot at a buck, and he missed. And his grandfather said, "Son, we're from Aimwell." True story. They were from Aimwell, Louisiana, and he missed it. Got it on a second shot. Passed out some census information. Not too late. The big hiring starts March 6th. Louisiana's 34 parishes reports the office. We're going to hire 2,500 plus census enumerators, census takers. 2020census.gov/jobs. Not too late. Veterans mostly get a 5-point veterans preference. I'd like to check with y'all when we know we might have it, Mr. Chairman, the election date to renew the 0.83 mills on the public facilities. Is that November 3rd for a fact or December?
Ms. Bryant, can you?
It expires at the end of this year.
Can't answer that question now.
Well, okay, well, let's get a date before,
We'll get you that, Kevin.
before it expires at the end of December. Along those lines, to the members, serious statement here, serious statement. If this body passes this gun legislation, of which I came today because I knew it'd be a big crowd, like the November 17 on the vote to remove the Caddo Confederate Monument, and I like my other ideas to be heard. When that vote comes up to renew that millage, should this gun thing pass, that renewal's going down. I'm just going to tell you, they're going to vote against, they're going to starve the parish financially on every election, every new and renewal. We'll never get funding for juvenile justice, $3 million in the hole annually. And then a couple more items. Every 4 years, parish charter says this body selects a citizens review committee for the parish charter. We did it in 12 and 8. So that's something for later in the year. And finally, is there going to be a serious discussion soon to fund juvenile justice? Maybe assign it to the appropriate committee. With the 17-year-olds the state gave us another unfunded mandate, every parish got the same mandate. We cannot keep going in the hole. I do things monthly, $250,000 a month, and sustain ourselves. That AAA bond rating at some future points in jeopardy if we keep overspending in juvie justice. And if there's a legal method to do it, let's come up with a clever way to fund juvenile justice. Finally, the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association welcomes anybody who wants to hear Keith Hansen tonight at 6 p.m. He's the city's IT director at Broadmoor Presbyterian Church.
Thank you, Mr. Kraft. Ms. Jill Brown.
Hi, my name is Jill Brown. I live at 10181 McElroy out in Keithville, Louisiana. I actually wrote this twice. I'm going to give y'all the nice version today because I've been here so long, so I'm trying to keep that blood pressure down. I am one of the proud rural residents of Caddo Parish. Sorry. I am a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. I am a female business owner of a preliminary, mostly man industry, okay? I do septic systems. There's not another woman in this town that does that. My husband taught me well. I am not what you call a political person, but when a body of government wants to infringe upon my rights as a property owner, then I have become a political person. I have sat in these meetings. I have watched them online when I couldn't attend. And I'm angry. I'm angry that I'm having to take out of my day and come and sit in here and basically babysit grown men and women to do the job that we employed y'all to do. I'm angry that I have to do that. But that's where we have come to. We have to sit in here and basically hold hands. And that's not right. I guarantee you, if you continue to pull the rug out from underneath us like you did in 2017, I know some of y'all were not here at that point, but if you continue to do that, you will not be here long. You will be voted out. We the rural residents of Caddo Parish will make sure to that.
Bonnie Farr. Bonnie Farr.
Yes, I'm Bonnie Farr, and I would like to ask that I be granted a little more time,
Then 3 minutes, Ms. Farr.
if I need to. I don't know how fast I can tell you what you need, what we all need to hear.
Would 4 minutes suffice?
We'll see.
We have to vote on it, Ms. Farr. It's not my decision.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't know how long it'll take me to tell you this little bit, but I don't want to rush through it.
What's the topic?
Rules and regulations.
Make a motion for 3.5 minutes. Okay. Go ahead and start. Let's see where we can go, Ms. Farr.
Thank you very much. This is from the Declaration of Independence. When in the course of human events, that's life, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have held us together and assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and the nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind require that that they should declare the cause which impel them in the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is, to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from those who are governed. That is us. You get your power from us, according to this Constitution. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles or organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect the safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will be dictated that government long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they were accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism.
Time is far.
It is the right of their duty to throw off such government.
Ms. Farr, are you wrapping up?
I adjure you, people of this commission, to go read your Declaration, your Bill of Rights, and our Constitution. You are usurping authority that you do not have. The Bill of Rights gives us the right to own and bear arms. We do not need another permit to own a gun. We don't need another permit to carry it with us. Our Constitution gives us this right. And there's some other rights that you do not have that you need to know about, so I adjure you all to read the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Farr. Randy Rasmussen. Randy Rasmussen.
Randy Rasmussen. I live in North Shreveport. I was listening to the meeting before this one. One of the things that struck me is they talked about all the people that they conferred with about this new UDC codes. I'm just like, who are these people? Must have been the 40 people that called in the complaints. I don't know. I haven't met one. I haven't talked to one. I don't know who they are. When this thing all started, I was kind of like, okay, well, we kind of need an NPC outside the city limits for some things, but they need to be careful what they do. But the more I've thought about it and the more this process has gone on, and some of the things that I've been seeing the NPC authorize the last few months, they need to stay in the city limits. Let us have our own set of rules outside the city without the MPC. I know Mr. Alan Clark is against that, but I'm sorry. The more everything goes about it, the more looks like we need to stop it. Then talking about this, I saw the deal on the agenda about the Second Amendment. I was like, really? We got a lot more stuff to worry about than something that you guys can't do anything about anyway. We need to work on this UDC. Forget about the Second Amendment stuff in here. So, because that's something that we aren't going to get anywhere with. You think he's got trouble from us about the UDC, just you hadn't heard nothing, you just don't mess with that. Yep. That's all I got. I just really, this thing has just got to, you guys got to do something about this UDC outside the city, because that's ridiculous. You can't have your work vehicle at home or safe storage of trailers. One of the air conditioning man I talked about earlier had his truck and trailers at his house. There's a reason for that, because where his office is, they're regularly broken into, and he's got stuff stolen. He still does, and he needs to keep them at his house where he can keep his tools so he can stay in business. So, anyway, I'll let somebody else speak on this today.
Thank you, Mr. Rasmussen. Jane Tappy. This is on UDC. I know she spoke on the weapons, but this is for UDC. And then Mr. Brown, you're next for the master plan.
Okay, I think, am I still I had two requests. We already spoke about the other, and this is UDC,
Yes,
correct? Now, if I speak, you still have other people coming behind me, right?
One more.
Like Jake, Caddo Alliance?
Jake's the last one about the master plan.
Okay, very good. Sorry, Jane Tappy. I just want to kind of cover some of the questions. I'm sorry, I didn't get the gentleman's name. Not Adam, but the other gentleman with the green shirt from the MPC. Sorry, didn't get his name. He stated a couple things that I had questions about, and I hate that he's not available to answer them, so I'm giving them to you guys so y'all can ask him for us. He mentioned the numbers of 235 that were mentioned, and he broke it down. He said 40 were call-ins and 23 were other things. Tell me if this math doesn't work. That leaves 172. 235 minus 42 is minus 40 and 23 is 172. And he said he had 172 of the RV and other issues. Is that coincidental? I mean, that number is that? So what I'm asking is, we're being told that we've stopped giving the citations for the RVs. We have proof, if that's the right word, of people posting saying, here's my citation I got today, dated like January 21st. You're still giving out citations. So either you are or you are not. So can someone ask and find out and say, stop it? If you're still giving citations to those of us in the parish about the same subjects we've been talking about since November, stop it. Just stop. I mean, it's a yes or no.
We actually can't address the citizens.
I know, I'm
However,
saying,
if you leave your number with Miss Nations, I will make sure that Mr. Clark gets in touch with you in regard
very
to those
good.
questions.
Okay, so that's one of the things. All right, Adam mentioned a while ago that the UDC does not apply to, and he mentioned several little cities, Blanchard and da-da-da-da-da. Yes, it does. Blanchard is a city limits. The area of Blanchard is, I mean, you could call yourself I call myself living in Blanchard, but I'm not in the city limits of Blanchard, okay? So to say that as a blanket statement, that's not really true. You have citations that have been given to people out on Circle Square. That's a mooring sport address, but they're in mooring sport. So that statement is not true, and I want y'all to understand it as a commission. You know, that's not true, okay? I don't know if Adam I know Adam didn't do that on purpose to imply that nobody in Blanchard or Mooringsport or Keithville or Greenwood gets citations. They do. So I want y'all to know that too, please. And, okay, so back to the RV writing. We've been told they're not writing them on the RVs, but they are still writing them on other things. So can we please, and I'll address them, stop writing them all together, period. And then lastly, he mentioned all those numbers. I would like to, and I will ask him, but to put it before you guys, how many of those are in the city and how many are talking about UDC? We got to stop it, y'all. There's a difference. City has its rules. We're UDC and we're trying to get rid of it, and we will.
Ms. Tappy, thank you for coming down. I was just sent a message. The MPC is on the 4th floor. If you'd like to address it with them, they welcome you up there right now.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown?
Jake Brown. Also, I ended up watching y'all's long range on the master plan, and there were some things that I just found that weren't correct. When he was going through this, one of the commissioners asked a good question: what was the main goal of the 2030 master plan? Its philosophy, its goals. And out of that, the zoning administrator, he said that the main goal was economic development, crime, and education. I read the master plan, and it really doesn't address that. It actually is based, if you look at it, the vision states Shreveport is the greenest and healthiest city in the South, committed to resource and energy, sustainability, and enhancing access to healthy lifestyle. So, I mean, as I go through it, chapter 4 is pretty much all on this environmental stuff. They're going to want to come in. They've already changed zoning on some people that were RA, and now they've lost a lot of rights that they were able to do with their property before. So now, people, in these conservation zones where they want parks and these greenways, this is what it's on. It's on this environmental stuff. And it's taken our private property rights. And it's all based on environmental stuff. And it's a hoax. It's a money grab. It's not going to help Shreveport. I mean, if you've looked in the nation right now, as stuff is deregulated, things are prospering. But if you're going to drop all these regulations on us, what's going to happen? People aren't going to live here. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to freaking Texas, Caddo Lake. I'll get out of here where there are no rules and where I can do what I want with my property. Businesses, this is already happening. I mean, they're already left. Bossier, when I was in high school, Bossier wasn't a spot you wanted to be. Everybody was in Shreveport. And now guess what? Everybody's going to Bossier. Nobody wants to be here because there's too many regulations. No business wants to deal with this. People can't even get certificate of occupancies because they got to put trees in on a business. How's that going to help the little man? It's not. But to close this up, I saw that y'all have appointed some people to fix this that actually are responsible for where we're at today. And I would suggest that maybe we appoint some fresh faces to look into this master plan. I really don't want the people that put me in this to be the ones that are going to fix it. So let's think about that.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. All right, in regards to citizens' comments, I have more, but they're not citizens' comments at this point in the agenda. They're late arrivals, so we'll address those. If you came in late, your citizen comment will be held at the end of the agenda. We move on to visitors.
We have no visitors. We need to adopt the regular session
So
minutes.
move for adoption.
Second. All right, so moved by Commissioner Jackson and second by Commissioner Cawthorn. Please vote. That passes 12-0.
We have no special resolutions. We go to communiques and committee reports, administration response to information requests from commissioners.
All right. Any commissioners that would like to get on the board? Miss Erica Bryant?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, commissioners. Just
afternoon.
want to let you know that the legislative luncheon that we had scheduled for tomorrow has been canceled due to limited participation. Also, given the cancellation, we will have a draft to you all sometime next week. And then also, you all should have received an invitation from the Port for its Port Night Appreciation Dinner that will be held Thursday, March 5th, with a reception at 5:30 and dinner scheduled for 6:30. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant. Commissioner Jackson?
I just wanted to make reference to the public comment section where one of the members of the public pointed out the information about the law school study. And I just want to be clear that what's on your agenda is to forward this. I cannot, and correct me if I'm wrong, I cannot forward anything speaking on behalf of the commission. This body has to adopt the feedback to the study that was provided. Dr. Wilson will put it on his letterhead, edit it, make suggestions, make formatted changes, and send it in to the Board of Regents. And to be clear, there were several individuals who participated in drafting this response. So don't know, you know, I often say that this town, there are people in this town, I would call them workers of iniquity. They wake up every day trying to figure out how they can spite somebody. If we said there was a miracle on 34th Street or 31st Street, they would say, why it's not on 35th Street? Why it's not on 39th Street? And they would create an issue and an argument about it. All we're asking is to submit this feedback. I don't know if it should have said authorized. I don't think it should have said confirmed, but I mean, that's just a play on words. All we're asking to do is to send this information back to the Board of Regents in response. And then there's also some additional work that we will have to do with Southern University system so that we can go forward with the satellite option that has been proposed. I can tell you that we had a good conversation and a good meeting on yesterday with the Southern University system as well as the Board of Regents. I spoke to our representative, Wilbur Pryor, and he indicated that that he had not seen such a coordinated approach about a situation as he has about this law school effort. This is something that our region needs to get behind. If you look over at East Texas, they're about to get a medical school, so we're going to be in competition for medical school. This particular issue doesn't take away from anything. So this is something that hopefully my hope and prayer is that we will continue to speak with a united voice to move this effort forward. There were representatives here from, and there are still representatives here from Southern University Law School that have looked at sites. It's not for us to determine what site it's going to be. Southern University is going to determine what site it's going to be, not the Parish Commission. And so a lot of people try to instigate things. I want to ask us to continue. If you have questions, ask myself, ask Dr. Wilson. He is plugged into this conversation. I think it's important. As I have explained to Dr. Wilson and Commissioner Cawthorn with a test, this is not a Stephen Jackson project. This is not Cedric Glover's project. This is Northwest Louisiana's project. So everybody is welcome to be in on the conversation. If you want to make a trip down, if you want to get information, everybody is welcome. Michelle, was this attached to the agenda?
No, I didn't attach it. That's my fault.
Mistakes
But it was
happen.
attached on the Tuesday agenda.
Mistakes happen. I know I emailed this to everybody, and if we could make this available to the public, however, by whatever means, make this available to the public, we don't have anything to hide up here. So I just wanted to point that out for the record. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes, I just wanted to let the commission and those in District 1 in the planning area, March 3rd at 6 o'clock, we will hold a meeting at Indian Hills Baptist Church, and this will be for the UDC to come out. This will be a time for them to maybe answer questions and maybe even discuss some of the information that was given today at long range. Indian Hills Baptist Church, which is on the old Morningsport Road. Now, given there is some limited space at that church, so we will probably have a second meeting at another location. I just don't have that date yet. So I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to at least come and make their statements to the UDC and NPC. March 3rd. March 3rd. 6 o'clock p.m. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to get a point of clarification on what Commissioner Jackson had asked, and you may clarify that, that this feedback document that we're supposed to send forward, having to do with the law school, it does not request any action per se. It's just for them to accept it and for them to
Commissioner
analyze
Jackson,
it.
would you like to expand on that?
Right. No, we're not asking for any particular action. We're just asking for the opportunity. In fact, as I can appreciate Dr. Belton making it very clear, we're not even asking the regents to approve whether Shreveport can get a satellite law school. That's totally up to Southern University system, and so we ask for their support. The regents simply responded to the House concurrent resolution that was authored, and so that's basically all the regents did. And there was also a Senate resolution by Senator Peacock, and so that's why we find ourselves having to prepare this particular response. So there is no action that has to be.
So we're just sending your response forward to the board for them to analyze and
We're sending our response.
Our response to the board.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. Attorney Frazier.
I just wanted to address what Commissioner Jackson said about making that public. The public can access that at www.caddo.org by accessing that Tuesday agenda, or if they send a public records request, we will send the link to Tuesday's agenda, but they can immediately access it there.
Thank you, Attorney Frazier. I see no other commissioners. Deputy Clerk.
We move to President's report.
I have no report.
We have no public hearing on zoning ordinances, so we move to public hearing on ordinances. Ordinance number 5943 of 2020, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $20,000 to provide an appropriation to legal services.
So move for adoption.
Public hearing.
Do we have?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do we have anyone here to speak in favor of ordinance 5943? Mr. Mohammed?
Marvin Muhammad, Mr. President, Commission. I want to commend Commissioner Jackson for this very timely policy that I believe that this commission should consider well, given those who have made mistakes a second opportunity is the hard mark of a great civilization. These men and women who have an opportunity to have an offense wiped clean, they have paid their debt to society. But what they have not yet at that moment, because of being denied an opportunity to pay a debt to themselves, to their families, to their city, to their parish, to them states, by being the best that they can be. So this gives them an opportunity, at a second opportunity, to be the best they can be and to reach their full potential. Somewhere it's written that blessed is the man or the woman that finds his purpose in life and is found doing it. And oftentimes in our searching and looking, sometimes we stumble and fall. Well, they have failed, but yet we want to reach down and pick them up. So let's move forward. And again, we want to commend Commissioner Jackson, and we pray that this commission can see the value and benefit of such. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. Do I have anybody else here to speak for ordinance number 5943? Do I have anyone here to speak against 5943? I see nobody. I declare this closed.
Now we move to ordinances for final passage. Ordinance number 5943 of 2020, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $20,000 to provide an appropriation to legal services in North Louisiana.
So move for adoption.
I have a motion by Commissioner Jackson and a second by Vice President LBJ. Commissioner Jackson, would you like to speak on your motion?
No, I'm good.
All right. I see no one on the board. Please vote. That passes 12-0.
We have no zoning ordinances for introduction. We have no ordinances for introduction. So we move to the work session minutes.
So move for adoption.
I'm not finished with them yet. So they're
Oh,
not
so we need to
attached.
hold on? Okay.
Hold on. Okay, so now we go to, or is there a motion to postpone?
So do we need to postpone? That's all. Yes, so motion to postpone.
Second. All right, we have a motion to postpone by Commissioner Jackson, a second by Commissioner Gage Watts. Please vote. Passes 12-0.
Now we move to resolutions. Resolution number 12 of 2020, a resolution to reduce the number of people with mental illnesses in jails.
Second.
Move. So move.
So moved by
Second.
Commissioner Gage
Moved by the
Watts and
chair.
second by Commissioner Cawthorn. Commissioner Watts, would you like to speak on your motion?
Thank you, Mr. President. On Monday, I expounded a little bit about what this resolution is about, joining a nationwide initiative to promote a call to action for the number of people incarcerated with mental illness. And it is also an educational proponent to help us to share lessons learned with other parishes and counties in the state and across the country. So I ask my colleagues to support this resolution.
Commissioner Hopkins.
I read over this last night, stepping up, and this does not give us any future costs or anything. This is just going to work with other, like the sheriff, the DA.
Yes.
And setting up a panel to look at these types of situations.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a point of clarification, this is directed to the state, first of all, or is it something local?
No, this is a local initiative. This is us joining other counties, other parishes across the U.S.
So there's nothing in place right now. You're trying to formulate this.
There are several organizations that has already joined this movement. We are just joining with them.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, please vote. That passes unanimously.
Resolution number 13 of 2020, a resolution of the Parish of Caddo urging the Louisiana State Legislature to strengthen the Louisiana gun law by incorporating mandatory requirements for owning and carrying a firearm.
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner LBJ and a second by Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Lyndon B. Johnson, would you like to speak on your motion?
Yes. Today I've heard a lot of comments from citizens of Caddo Parish. This was a small sample of citizens that did show up today, and our parish holds about 200,000 citizens. 245, close enough. The amendment 2 that you kept talking about today was dealing with the right to bear arms. And that was ratified, the Constitution was ratified on June 21st, 1788. But the Declaration of Independence was July 4th, 1776, which one lady did allude to today. And one part of that says that, and clearly states this, that all men are created equal. Yet, there were many years of slavery. Okay? Many years of slavery. If we're going to hold words, we're going to hold words. All right. There was also an amendment that came later on. Voting rights for all races, 1870. So sticking to Amendment 2, that's fine, but let's stick to everything. The Declaration of Independence and all of the amendments that follow after that. This particular resolution is urging our state legislators. We cannot change the law. We have no rights to change the law. But this is urging our state legislators to review the gun laws because they need to be reviewed. You cannot talk.
Hold on, audience. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Citizens, LBJ respected you guys when you spoke and he didn't speak in response. Please give him the same respect back. Thank you.
Mr. President, I would ask that individuals who cannot abide by these rules be removed.
That's actually the rules of the chamber. I hope we don't have to state that, but the Sergeant Arms is in the back because of that.
Thank you.
Right.
Mr.
So,
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Okay, also not disrespect of Mr. LBJ, disrespect of this entire body. We sat
Agreed.
and listened to them.
Agreed. Thank you, Commissioner.
the resolution basically is to have the state legislators to review the gun laws as they currently stand. The recommendations from this resolution basically adds traceability on purchasing of new firearms and ownership of those same firearms. It also talks about the assault weapons, which comes into play about the mass shootings. Well, the number 20 on the magazine was a number that was thrown out for discussion. If 20 is too low, that's fine. But we don't need people walking around with magazines of 100, 80, 75, anything like that on public streets. Many states have already imposed gun laws. That's what I'm talking about. They already opposed. So the U.S. Constitution was upheld and those gun laws were changed. Louisiana is a part of the United States. It's one of the 50 states in the United States. So therefore, it is not unconstitutional to talk about this, to ask our legislators to review the gun laws. Everybody came down here today asking us to not even talk about this. That was your right as a citizen. My right as a citizen is to ask the legislators to do the same thing. I'm giving my colleagues an opportunity to join me in doing so. So if it's wrong for me to do that, it's wrong for you to come down here and ask us not to pass this. It's just that simple. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Parliamentarian Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be voting no on this resolution. As you all know, I don't believe in advising state legislators on how they should or should not vote on various issues. I think our state legislators are well informed on these matters and certainly capable of placing their own vote. I also believe that this body should focus on issues that are within our charter, issues that we can address and issues that we can improve. And I don't like to see us be distracted by issues that are state legislative issues. I agree with the position of most of those that came to the speaker's podium today. And again, I'll be voting no on this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Parliamentarian. Commissioner Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm glad that the word that was used was voting on a particular issue that affects, I guess, a different part of the parish, I would say. But I want to start out by saying that it was 297 mass shootings in 365 of the days in 2019. Violence in Caddo Parish, where Shreveport ranks 18 on America's 25 murder capitals. Shreveport happens to be in Caddo Parish. We do not live in two separate places. Everyone is entitled to their opinions, as it has been said, and then there are facts. There are facts that a baby in Caddo Parish in Shreveport was killed sleeping in her cradle. It is a fact that a child in his mother's car was killed in cold blood. There are countless children, youth, men, and women all over the world that are asking anyone to do anything to help improve the current gun laws. I am supporting this resolution for every person who has lost their life to senseless gun violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Epperson. I'm sorry, Commissioner Lazarus.
Thank you. I myself will be voting no on this as well. You're asking us to approve this resolution that supports legislation strengthening Louisiana's gun laws and making it illegal to possess and use assault weapons. You mentioned fully automatic in there, but Louisiana laws already prohibits the sale, transport, purchase, and possession of these weapons with very few exceptions. States with your ordinance, resolution states that states with strict gun laws have fewer mass shootings. Now, you didn't cite your study that you had, but that's all right. Sheriff Prater has a study that refutes that. I have my study that I did, I call it 10 minutes on Google. I spent 10 minutes on Google and found out that California has the strictest gun laws in America, but they also have a complete ban on any semi-automatic rifles and have had that for 20 years. But California also has the most mass shootings in the United States. So it kind of shoots a little hole in the study. So finally, 38 days ago, on January 13th, I and everybody here at this horseshoe took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. The Second Amendment of the Constitution states that, in part, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, I believe this resolution clearly violates this amendment, and I can't support it, and I ask that my colleagues join me in voting no. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bragg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not gonna chime into this hot button issue. I spent 12 years at the state dealing with this issue, and I understand the passion on both sides of the issue, but the way I view laws is just that they are laws. They are laws that govern a civil society. They are not an exact science. The laws were put there that we do massage them in order to fit where we are. I'm only saying that to say that every law that we have on the book is not concrete. I made them for 12 years there, 8 years on the council, now I'm on the commission. And I know that based on circumstances, these things change. So we have the right as representatives to make those recommendations. And that leads me into what Commissioner Atkins said today, in which I've heard him say this before, is that, and this is his belief, and I accept all of that, is that he doesn't feel that this commission should not encourage or urge the legislature to do anything. Being a legislator, I welcome information from the council, from the commission, because we are a representative government. We represent the people in those constituencies. We have those constituencies that we represent, and there is nothing wrong with encouraging support or opposition to any issue, because the bottom line is government is local. We are a local body. And if that would be the case, the list of propositions that has been developed by this commission to be sent to the state legislature, they should be ripped up, because we are encouraging them to pass these laws. So with all due respect, Commissioner Atkins, I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hopkins.
Let me just be real brief. I am a representative of the people, and the people of District 1 have spoken to me, and I will be voting no. So that's just where I stand personally. I disagree with the ordinance, but it really doesn't matter. The people of District 1.
Resolution.
Resolution. The people of District 1 are against it, so that's the way I will be voting.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Coughlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to give context to this argument, discussion there, resolution today. The Second Amendment is naturally divided into two parts. You have a prefatory clause that states that a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The operative clause is there is the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed upon. So the reason why I say I want to bring context to this is that you have to look at what is considered the million. In 1791, there were fewer governing bodies that helped and assisted in people moving into a period to secure their property. So someone could come from anywhere and rob you or do harm to your family. So to have a well-formed militia, you had the right to bear arms. In 2020, and let me also state this, I don't want to take a gun from anybody who goes hunting, fishing, whatever you do with your gun. That's not my position. But what I'm saying in 2020, as we look at situations in urban communities, we see an exacerbated occurrences of people being killed with various type of weapons. And so when we give context to this, that's not to disagree with anyone who came down here today, but that's just to let that I fundamentally believe that you solve 2020 problems for 2020 solutions, and not to take the Constitution, infringe upon any right as it relates to the Constitution. And then secondly, with the state legislature and its configuration, this is dead on arrival anyway. So I will be voting just as a contextual measure, but I know as a resolution to the state legislature, this is dead on arrival. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Epperson.
My district is comprised, about 118 square miles. I think I'm the largest district, and the third largest district in Caddo Parish. 77,000 acres, about 60% rural, about 40% urban. I have 2 state senators within this district. I have 3 state representatives within this district. I disagree with anyone's position that we should not offer suggestions to the legislature just because of this same matter. And another thing, when we look at the political affiliations of some of these districts, some of these legislatures don't even hold meetings in these areas. We are the ones that they see every day. And we have a right to make suggestions because we are in contact with the people more than they are. I believe you can pull out probably 10 people out of my district and ask them who their state representative is, they wouldn't know. When the last time they've seen them? When have they held a public meeting? And just as everyone came down and gave their opinions relative to the UDC and the MPC, which was articulated some years back and voted on in 2017, numerous public meetings were held, but the old NIMBY effect came in. You know what that NIMBY is? N-I-M-B-Y? Not in my backyard, but when it came in that backyard and tapped them, here we come. But all the while, the meetings was going on. Nothing was done in the dark. And let's go back and give a definition of a resolution. This isn't an ordinance. An ordinance carries weight of law. A resolution is a formal request from this body to someone else relative to something you would ask them to do. They can take it serious, they can take it and throw it in the trash, or whatever. A resolution carries no weight of law. It's a request. And if we feel that we should not make suggestions to our state legislators and our senators, and yes, all the way up to Washington, D.C., it's the same way. Because of their political affiliation, they're not going to even hold no meetings in certain areas. And the reason that a lot of you are here today about this UDC is because your elected officials that you had in place the last 12 years, never held a public meeting when all this is being discussed in your areas. And that's a fact. Go back and check that. Now, let me go back with a little history. This is my 4th big rodeo, and I love to see you all here. I wish you could be here and come for a lot of other occasions. Once again, I like to emphasize, nothing that we vote on or do in this body is done in the dark. Public records, Facebook, internet streaming, Comcast cable. But guess what? You're here today because of hot button issues. So let's do the thing. And the blooming hypocrisy. I didn't see anything in this resolution saying that we are going to advocate a repeal of the Second Amendment. Do you know the process of appealing a federal constitutional amendment? Congress, Senate. Mr. Chairman, would you ask them to please?
Sorry, Commissioner.
Congress, Senate, got to be a 3/4 vote of the states. Then it has to be a vote of the people. Nothing is leading to repealing the Second Amendment right. Let's see, I got 18 emails relative to this issue. None in favor, but I answered every one of them. And if any of you are in the audience, you can testify to that. And I answered you respectfully and articulately. If you're sitting here, you know that. And as my trust, my saying is, in God we trust, that I want to see it in black and white. When you call me, Mr. Epson, I want to do this, that, and I say, hey, wait a minute. Email me. Give me your contact information. And I want to respond to you. Because I want to have something in writing that I responded to you and that I was civil and I was respectful, which some of the emails that I got was not. That's why I had the parish attorney to pull the ordinance relative to the way that people would do elected officials or appointed officials, because I want you new commissioners to know that you do not have to be intimidated or threatened. I own guns. I got a BB gun, I got a .380 Beretta, and I got a 6-shot .22. Now I ain't gonna tell you what else I got, but it's all legal. My sons own weapons. All of them. I don't know what they got, but they tell me, Daddy, you better be ready. Okay? What that means, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, this is not an issue for publicity. Somebody say you won't put, I don't need no publicity. I spent 28 years in the community working against, before I was elected, gang violence, drug activity on the corner of St. Vincent and West 87. The riots in A.B. Palmer Park, only 2 blocks from my home. Brokered a truce between the Bloods and the Crips. Instituted the Drop Your Guns program. And got the same kind of stuff back in 1995 with that program. I had threats. Had to get my phone bugged. But, you know, it's bad. But guess what? I earned the right to vote in favor of this resolution, which I would be doing, which I have voted for resolutions relative to this issue in the past. And I will continue to do so. Because number one, what this did, it brings us an opportunity for dialogue. If this hadn't been up here, we wouldn't see all these people here today. I'm glad you're able to come down here and witness and see what's happening. I earned the right when I was born in Wynn Parish, Louisiana, as a child, fully American, raised, graduated high school. I raised my right hand to protect and behold the Constitution of the United States and the United States Army when I didn't have our full rights back here at home, when I left and when I got out. So don't tell me nothing about taking rights away from you, and we're still fighting today. Let's be real. Let's stop being hypocrites. This is nothing but a document to make a request to institute dialogue. They can take it, and they can look at it, or they can throw it in the trash or whatever. And if we're going to say that we don't have a right to make suggestions as an elected body, which we are in contact with the people more than they are, and more than they want to be and can be. They full-time, got staff and everything. I bet you they don't get this many emails coming to them. If they do, they're going to give it to a staff and they're going to blow you off with a form letter. I will be voting in favor of this. Let's put aside all this mess. And all of you that really know me, the ones that don't know me, you know me. And the one that wrote me now, I never seen or heard anything from them, said that they was in my district. Nothing. Out of all the meetings that I hold. Work together to get, and we're talking about passing that tax. Do you know how we got out of that old rotten, cold, no good health unit and dilapidated animal shelter on Kings Highway? Ken Epperson and others went out to the streets, got this tax passed, and that's why we have the new facilities that we have today. So was I being senseless or wasn't using common sense when I went to Washington, D.C. and advocated on behalf of Veterans Cemetery? Was that sense? Was I being stupid because I volunteered to go in the military during the heat of the Vietnam War and wasn't treated as good when I left as well as when I came back? A blooming hot pile of hypocrisy. I will be voting in favor of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, I'm going to wrap up. Commissioner Talfair, I just seen you press. Go ahead. I'll let you wrap that up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Just for the record, I'd just like to make a quick statement. Obviously, this is the Second Amendment rights being former law enforcement and military is very near and dear to my heart. This is one of the most important rights that we are afforded under our Constitution. And I welcome both the opinion and the position of my colleagues here around the horseshoe. And there are some facts that we need to discuss. Violent crime is down and been declining for decades. In other words, America is safe, and the trend is since 1990, and it's becoming safer. Higher rates of gun ownership are not associated with higher rates of violent crime. Just the opposite. Most gun-related crimes are carried out with illegally owned firearms. There is no clear relationship between strict gun control legislation and homicide or violent crime rates. In fact, more people have been stabbed to death than have been murdered with rifles. These are few statistics, and there is plenty more. But the bottom line is, you see, there's a term in law enforcement and the military to describe and identify evil. It's called the wolf. And when the wolf comes knocking at your door, and it could, you want me and responsible gun owners like me in that church, in that synagogue, in that grocery store, on that school ground, in a public venue such as this, and countless other target opportunities the wolf will explore to prey on the innocent and unsuspecting. But when he does, and the smoke clears, and the sheep are safe, there will be the sheepdog, the responsible, law-abiding, concealed, or open carry citizen who took decisive action, often at the risk of their own peril. My guess is that none of the citizens saved will be questioning what type of weapon was used, the length of magazine, or how many or type of rounds were expended to extinguish the threat. I have encouraged my wife and my daughter to use as much force as necessary, to expend as many rounds as necessary, until they, not me, have determined the wolf is no longer a threat. I could point out how the Second Amendment literally says the government is not allowed to institute gun control. And I would also point out that Thomas Jefferson said that preventing individuals from having weapons to defend themselves is akin to banning water because someone might drown, or fire because someone may be burned. You know, too many of our citizens in Caddo Parish understand that point, and for the Commission to consider legislation that would encourage anything otherwise would be against the will of our constituents. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Brown, I'm going to get to you really quick. I'm going to finish before anybody calls for the question. I share all the sentiments of the people in the audience, and I thank you for coming out. Commissioner Epperson said it best when it comes to the resolution and the weight of it and the magnitude of what actually will take place if this passes or fails. It's merely a resolution. Thank you for that great explanation. Personally, I'm a veteran. Thank you for all the veterans that came out. I know weapons are a soft place in all of our hearts. Commissioner Epperson and Commissioner Taliaferro are both veterans. They both fought for the right for us to be up here and to speak our freedoms, so thank you for that. However, this isn't a personal issue for myself to make this vote. I had 48 messages from my constituents in Southern Hills District 10 that I represent, and I'll be voting against this in favor of what the people asked me to do. They asked me to vote no for it, so I'll be voting in that manner. Just want to let you guys know that I represent District 10. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. As a final note, as I said, I've dealt with this issue for over 12 years in the legislature, probably one of the only commissioners that have had that experience. But again, I don't think any of us, I know I'm not against the Second Amendment right. I grew up in a household in the country where we had guns in every corner. I don't think that that's what this is all about. I'm just going to give you an example of the hypocrisy that goes along with this particular issue. There was a bill that was sponsored by the chairman of the Criminal Justice Committee. He was my chairman when I was there. As you remember, when the issue of putting guns on college campuses, that was right after the Virginia incident. And we had a chamber that could not hold all the people who were for putting that issue forward to allow our college students to have guns on campus. And there was a harebrained idea by a very new legislator that said that if I can get this thing amended, if it's good for the kids on campus, then it should be good for the legislators in the legislature. I got the bill amended to include the legislature. Don't you know that that bill was voted down? Out of all the people that came and crowded that chamber, that put a lot of pressure on the people who were there to vote on it. It wasn't until it was a personal issue to them that the issue was voted down. It didn't change the Second Amendment. It was still the same. But just to give you an example of how this issue is so volatile, it's based upon, it's in the eyes of the beholder. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Vice President LBJ.
Commissioner Jackson.
I call for the question.
Commissioner Jackson.
Second.
All right. Call for the question. Please vote. All right, and that passes 11 to 12. Question is 11 to 1, sorry. And the question is called. Please vote on, this is the original.
No, to call for,
Yeah, we call for the question.
forgot what we voted. You're good. I'm sorry.
Let's vote on resolution number 13 of 2020. That fails, 6-6. Deputy Clerk?
Now we move to resolution number 14 of 2020, a resolution
So
approving.
move for adoption.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Jackson and a second by Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Jackson, would you like to speak on your motion?
No.
Nope. Please vote. That passes unanimously.
We have no old business. We move to new business. Confirm reopening the hiring process for the commission clerk starting internally.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Got a motion to adopt by Commissioner LBJ and second by Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner LBJ, would you like to speak on your motion?
Not right now.
All right. I'd like to make a substitute motion that we allow until March 19th a favorable opinion by the ethics, and at which time, if not one is rendered, that we automatically move our deputy clerk into our clerk's position. If I can get a second, I'll expand on that.
Second.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, we have a current appointee that we appointed. We're just waiting on the ethics opinion. He started this entire process, looking like it started in 11/25/19. We appointed him. He voluntarily put his ethics opinion on the line. It came back that there was an issue. He has since rectified the issue. However, he has to wait until March for the official filing and for us to get that recommendation if what he and his wife did will rectify that ethics opinion. By March 19th, we will know whether or not they accept that. If they don't, then we have the perfect position available for what we all agreed upon is the perfect person. She's been in the position serving for the last 2 months. She's doing an amazing job. I see no reason in having to train somebody else when we can slide Michelle Nations right into the clerk's position, and she will continue serving us proudly. So if I can get your guys' support on that, I think it would be the most expedient way for the commission to achieve the resolution of getting a clerk and getting a well-served clerk. I see Commissioner Talaferro.
Yeah, Mr. President, you stated that very eloquently, and I withdraw mine.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Burrell.
Mr. Chairman, just as a point of clarification, are we changing the process? We weren't here when we started this process. I thought it was a process. And given the fact that we sent this to the Ethics Commission because that was the issue at hand, did that change the process where we open it back up again? Or are you just saying from the standpoint of we being the commission, we have the authority that you're proposing this for us to do that?
Commissioner, we do have the authority to appoint somebody, and it's up to us for the qualifications. We have not yet opened it back up for the process again. If my substitute motion does not take place today and Commissioner Epperson's passes, then the hiring process for the commission clerk will start over again. It will start the entire process of the 2-month duration of what we did last year.
Okay. What, again, if yours passed, we're not going back to a process.
No, sir. We will
We're
accomplish.
just saying that I'm going to choose someone else.
Right. If the ethics opinion comes back unfavorable for Mr. Everson, who we hired, then we will all be in unison to appoint Ms. Nations, who on Monday everyone agreed was a great option.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Parliamentarian Atkins.
My question's been answered. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. Attorney Frazier.
I just wanted to point out to you as far as the process, what you all did, you adopted a process last time. So if you reopen the hiring process, you would adopt whatever process you wanted to take this time, which can include an appointment of the deputy clerk.
Completely understand.
You can do all of that, but you adopt a process for your positions, unless the process is mandated by the state legislature.
Thank you, Attorney Frazier. Commissioner Epperson.
I will be voting against the substitute motion. Thank you.
All right, and Commissioner Burrell for the second.
Point of clarification, Ms. Frazier, the statement that you just made, is that in line with what the president is saying?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
I see no other commissioners. Please vote. This is for my substitute motion. Chair. Yes. That passes 8-4. Moving along.
Confirm submitting formal requests on behalf of the parish to the Board of Regents, Shreveport Law School.
So move
study.
for adoption.
Second by the chair. Commissioner Jackson, would you like to speak on your motion?
Yes, again, I just will reiterate, won't be long. We had a great meeting yesterday, and there's more information to come. We want to make sure that we are united on this particular issue. And one of the things that I didn't say that I left out early is that The law school proposal is not antithetical to the dental school or to a nursing school. There are a lot of other, which is what the Board of Regents has pointed out, is that there are a lot of higher education needs here in Shreveport or in Caddo Parish or Northwest Louisiana. They agree that we don't think that somebody who has a desire to go to nursing school will stop going to nursing school and say, oh, I want to go to law school. Or somebody who has a desire to go to law school will say, oh, well, you know, I don't want to go to law school. I'll go to dental school. These are not in competition. We're going to be having conversations on how we get everybody from our legislative delegation all the way to the mayor's office on down to our citizens on board with this particular endeavor. And so far it's been great. The conversation is great, and let's just continue the momentum that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I see no other commissioners on the board. Please vote. That passes unanimously.
Communiques and committee reports.
All right, commissioners, if you'd like to speak, get on the board. I see no commissioners. All right, Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to note that Southern University's system will have a reception tonight at 6 p.m., from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. I'm not sure if everybody got the email, but I know I was asked to make sure that I inform everybody. If you want to talk about the law school, you can come over there. Their Board of Supervisors will be there. They actually having a Board of Supervisors meeting at Southern University Shreveport tomorrow, and I think they're going to be making a presentation and recognizing this body for our support tomorrow morning as well. It'll be at the Milam Street Kitchen Incubator, so if you can get a chance to stop by, network with their leadership. Dr. Belton is a hometown. He's the assistant president. Grew up in Stony Hill. Also, the Black History film series that the commission is supporting is tonight. I want to say, I think the movie is Say Amen. They have a great panel. Daryl Gates helped put that together. And so that's at 6 p.m. as well. The tickets are just $5, so anybody who would like to attend can attend, and they'll have a panel discussion afterwards. Also, the Allendale Ledbetter Neighborhood Association is meeting tonight from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. They'll be talking about the census and the importance of filling out the census form. Administration, I talked to Dr. Wilson, that March 5th for the Reinvest Caddo, that date is not working. That date is not going to work as well. So what I'm probably going to ask is if y'all suggest some dates for me. That's probably will be quicker. And are we good with the location? Mm-hmm. Okay, so if y'all just get some dates and we can go there. Again, that's not my meeting. That's the parish meeting, and we want any and everybody who can attend to find out about what Reinvest Caddo is. Also in my district, I want to make a note that the Ailey 2, that's a performing arts that's going on tonight as well at the Strand Theater. So a lot of activity. I'll be moving around in my district today, and if you can make time to get by any of those, please do. That's it for me. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Epperson.
Just like to state that the Police Cheer Association Convention, it was held in Shreveport, the 12th through the 14th, was very well received, good attendance. I was not successful in my executive board position at large. However, it was not to be expected because I had a 3-year hiatus, and of course I always respect my colleagues knowing that they broke and cut deals, and so I was satisfied with whatever happened there. Also, Mr. Talaferro is the secretary of the Veterans and Military Services Committee on the Police Cheer Association, which I was appointed chairman, and Mr. Lewis Joseph from Tangipahoa Parish is the vice chairman. We had a good meeting. A lot of people enjoyed the conference, very educational, and I think we made a good showing, and we thank the parish for all the employees that came out and volunteered their time to help make a success. Also, I would like to put on the table, administration and fellow commissioners, if we are going to go with this deal that we can't do anything with our state legislatures or with the federal legislature, I would say drop the doggone, legislative luncheon, and don't have me wasting my time submitting nothing to them. I'll go direct to them myself. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, sir. I just want to invite everyone out to the See Right Pink Ribbon Project. It's having a fundraiser and breast cancer awareness event on this Saturday, February 22nd from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and it'll be held at the McDonald's on Greenwood Road at Jewella Avenue. Please go out and support. Thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple of things. The Red River Valley Association conference was held the last 2 days, ending today, where all of the ports along the Red River and in the valley, along with levee boards, convened. Given the fact that we have all this rain and stuff, we are pretty important right now because of the possible flooding. So we discussed a lot of those issues. The second thing that I had is the Black History program for Billsbury Park is having a Black History program at Billsbury Park on Lake Shore, 6 o'clock on tomorrow. So that's an invitation.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Parliamentarian Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have done my best not to respond to a number of comments regarding my previous comments, although many were said in respect. But I must rebut that I certainly have no problems with citizens and commissioners reaching out to their state representatives. I think that certainly is an appropriate right that should be executed often. However, my issue is when this body is asked to vote on controversial issues just to make a statement to the state legislature or the United States Congress. I think it serves as it degrades this body. It makes this body look like it's a circus, and I don't like to see that happen. I think that we should stick to our agenda. We should stick to issues that are within our charter, and we should focus on improving our parish and making it the best it can be. So again, I certainly do not want to discourage anyone, either a citizen or a member of this body, from contacting their state representatives or contacting their federal representatives. But I just don't think that this body should spend its time debating controversial issues that we have no direct influence over. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Vice President Johnson.
Okay, I guess, so the easy issues, you good with that and to pass those on to the state legislature. But the ones that are controversial, which need dialogue, and I mean, all dialogue might not be good, but at the end of the day, everybody knows where everybody stands, and the public is informed on our issues or what we might see going on in our community that they might not be exposed to. So there's a reason why even the controversial ones you bring up, so that it enlightens everyone in the parish. Because people in North Caddo Parish don't know what's going on in central part of Caddo Parish or even in the west part of Caddo Parish unless they see it on the news or they see it in the newspaper. A lot of times it just doesn't makes the news. I mean, just like Ms. Gage Watts mentioned about some of the deaths that have happened. Many of them probably had never heard of that. Didn't even know all that was going on. There was a gentleman sitting in a wheelchair outside of a nursing home and was shot in the head. Broad daylight. How many people in North Caddo knew about that? I guarantee you not many. But it happened here in Caddo Parish. Or as some people want to say, Shreveport. But Shreveport is inside of Caddo Parish. So we have to learn to look at not only our world, but the entire world of Caddo Parish. You know, as long as you go to your home, to your neighborhood, everything is good. I don't worry about all that over there until it starts encroaching your property. And then when it encroaches your property, then we have a chamber full. But otherwise, well, that's their problem over there. And it shouldn't be that way. If we want to make Caddo Parish good, you got to start with the weakest link and move forward. Because it will not go forward with a weak link.
Thank you, Mr. President. Commissioner Epperson.
Let us not forget, we got 12 districts, okay? That's a market difference. It's not that we all elected at large. And I'm not saying that that you can deter people from contacting their individual senators or state reps or the national. I'm just saying, if we're going to do this, then well, let's not even have the dinner. Yeah, but this was just for this is dialogue. You had an opportunity, you know, because like I told you, some of these, I got 3 representatives in my district, and they don't, and you know they political persuasion, they not gonna come over there. And we see them every day. That's all it is. And look, you got 2 options. You either vote yes or you vote no, and that's it. And we did that, and guess what? I still love all of them. Went 6-6. Still love them. Sun still gonna rise in the morning. Moon gonna come up tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Burrell.
I'm just going to make a final comment, Mr. Chairman, because, as I said, being down in the state, we receive these resolutions. We also construct them to be sent to Congress from the state. I want a clarification, too, if you don't mind, from our attorney, that when a resolution is done here, I know the way it's done in the state, does it state who vote for it and vote against it? Because I can understand some of my fellow colleagues not wanting to be, their name appear on something that we all support, and I can understand that. That's our political division. That's part of our government. But my question to you, is that stated on there? If not, if there's a way that we can put that on there, like I said, I understand that it will pass and go down, but many times, you know, people want to know that I did not support this.
I would defer to the clerk's office as they are in charge of actually sending the resolutions down.
I think that would be a help, Mr. President, just from the standpoint that I know the way we do things, we did things at the state, and it may cover some of my colleagues who are uncomfortable with these situations. Thank you, Mr. President.
Sounds like a great topic for policy and procedures.
Actually, Commissioner, I think they do it. I was just deferring to.
Normally
Ms.
you do.
Nations to
She's
answer
on the
the
board.
question.
She's on the board.
Oh, okay.
Deputy Clerk.
With resolutions or anything that's sent to the state, I do put the motion, the second, and who voted, the actual votes on the resolution and in the cover letter.
That should possibly cover that.
Thank you, Ms. Nations. Moving along,
Citizens' comments, late arrivals.
I have Mr. Muhammad in regards to Resolution 13. Did you want to address that? Yes, sir. Okay.
Marvin Muhammad. Thank you, Mr. President and Commission. I did want to say I would feel remiss not to speak on the resolution that Commissioner Johnson proposed today. In 2019, he went to work, and with the help of his commissioners, with his colleagues, he put a community garden in the MLK community. I believe it's on the northwest corner of MLK and the garden. During that time, citizen John Paul Young reached out to him and saw that community garden. And yeah, I know his love for agriculture. He asked him, would he be willing to allow him to add more life to it by adding some fruit trees. He agreed. You know, when I came up in the MLK community, that wouldn't have been possible. That intersection, MLK and LaGarden was a line, 5 Deuce Hoover Crip, Rolling 60 Crip. In that intersection, if you happen to be a Rolling 60 Crip, you would have been shot at with an AR-15, AK-47, an M4, relentlessly. That community garden wouldn't have been possible for a community today to enjoy, because half of the community couldn't even access that point. So I want to say to this commission that public policy is deeper than it really seems. It affects every fiber of our lives. And where it might not seem prevalent or relevant to your constituent, we really, 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 really need to really identify and see where that said policymaker is going when they ask for the help of their colleagues. I really appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Mr. Bell, Patrick Bell.
Thank you very much. Patrick Bell, 3436 Highway 169, Warrensport, Louisiana. I'll be brief. I came up to speak on the resolution that Mr. Johnson put forth. I know it's already failed, so I'll be real brief. With respect to a few of the things that were said about the resolution, about amendments, things like that, Second Amendment applying not necessarily to today or because they were in fact intended for militias. If that's the case, then perhaps the First Amendment doesn't apply to, say, cell phones or social media. The amendments were put forth with the understanding that times were going to change. They were resolute, which means they were permanent and standing, okay? And what it says is that the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. The rights that we have are not provided by the Constitution, they are provided by God, okay? The Constitution is what prevents you, government, from infringing upon those rights. So with regards to that, I simply want to say that the governed are only governed by you at the consent that they give you. And when that consent ends, you'll get what is mentioned in the Declaration, which is the throwing off of the constraints of government. So, like I said, as I said, I know that the resolution already failed. That was simply what I came to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. I have no other citizens' comments.
Move to adjourn.
Second. Meeting adjourned.